All right, I think we're live. I see a comment from Con. Hello. It is Sunday after a very crazy weekend. Let me know if I'm actually live and you see this because this looks a little weird. Also warn me if my camera freezes because it was freezing a minute ago before I went live, which is why I'm mildly suspicious. But yes. Hello, Greg. All right, so I think we're definitely live then. Hello, Nemo. Okay, so it is Sunday. It has been crazy. Thank you, Greg. And it was my kid's birthday party this weekend, so I'm a little bit like over kid frazzled from running around at like a play place with a ton of small children. Yes, it's also been a hot minute. But I was reviewing some of the stuff we've been working on. Let me come up to here. Because I was making my game plan for today for what we're going to work on, but I wanted to give a quick update. I assume. Oh, thank you, Con. Yeah, it was actually both of them. They have very close birthdays, so it's a lot all at once, but then it's chill for a year. But I'll tell them. But if you haven't seen my announcement video, hello, Aaron. I am going to be going full-time in June, and I had a brief introduction of what those changes are going to look like amongst all the different things. The big thing for you all watching my Conlanging stream is that I'm going to have 2 more on this channel, so the one that's scheduled right now that we're doing, and then the one in a week, I think it's on the 4th, is a week from today. We're going to do it then too. And then after that should be when I am splitting the channel. And that's going to happen with the release of my next big world building guide parts. Like I'm going to set up the new channel, move all the videos over there, and then have that world building guide video. And then I'm going to start doing the conlanging streams on that other channel. So just to let you all know, yes, Con, I can give you an update on what we're working on once I get through that. But yes, I just wanted to let you all know to be prepared for that there'll be and I'll post it in the Discord. Hi, Viv. Thank you. Did not expect to run into you here. But yeah, so it's gonna be weird. I don't know what the YouTube algorithms are gonna do when I split the channel. They may try to epically murder me and be like, I don't know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be interesting, but we'll just ride it out and see how it goes, because I think long term this is gonna be the right call and will let me do the stuff I want to do in both directions without like feeling like it's not working for different audiences. But yes, okay, so let's go back to a quick status update for everyone because it has been a while, and for Con, who's new here. So what we are doing, it's literally watching that. Oh, what we are working on in general is a conlang, which is my spell language for one of the books I'm writing, and I'm gonna call it a conlang now. It's not quite a full conlang, but it's getting a lot more in deep than I would really like. But basically, we went through, and let me come over here. The general idea of this spell language is that it's all used in commands to talk to the spirits of the other realm, essentially, of the like magic realm. So you're basically commanding them. There's a whole intensifier aspect of this language that allows you to like have different levels of command, but it's basically like this spirit, right? You have to name them, and then you say the level of command, and then you tell them what you want them to do. So that obviously limits like which parts of language we need to develop. But as we get more in depth into it, like a lot more of the complicated stuff is coming up. And I always joke that I'm like an elementary school conlanger because I barely know anything, and I'm like, I am learning this, and half the stuff I learn I feel like is from the people in the chat. But yes. So if for a quick example, and then we'll jump into what we're directly working on. Here are some examples of some of the base spells that we've created. So like this one, essentially well, let's go down to here. Imba, right? So evocative case of Imba, the spirit. I beseech you. So like I'd like you to do something. Start a fire where I'm referencing or pointing to. And that's sort of like Imvash, Anaiwa, Vladudi. Sounds a little weird, but like we haven't gotten into any of the like Sandi or like intense sound changes stuff. but that's essentially what we're doing. Wait, what is the Edom video? Oh, is that we're talking about Bib's video? I'm gonna be watching both channels for sure. Yeah, I think it's gonna be weird because I can see my demographics, right? And there's a very different demographic of people who watch world building and conlanging videos and people who watch my writing content, which like obviously there's a lot of different types and kinds and genders of people in both, but like there's strong differences on who watches different kinds of videos. And I did a poll a while back to see like how many people watch both, and it's a surprisingly small number. So it's definitely been weird for the algorithmic worlds. Oh, you're writing a book too, Con? That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's fun. It's definitely a different type of conlanging, writing languages for books. And I was chatting with Conlangery. We did a collab talking about this sort of, but like writing with conlangs is very different just because you can't just write in that conlang. Like it's just, yeah, it's weird. But yes. So what happened, right, is that we were developing this out and we got to the point where this sort of limited way of looking at it got to be too simplistic. And when we started to get into the more complicated spells, which do I have that here? Where's the complicated bits? Yeah, so we started getting into spells like this one here at the bottom, which is like, oh, Envy, beseech you, of them until their happiness being happy, create warm rain onto the plants within the greenhouse, right? Like there's a lot going on in this, and we're starting to get into different kinds of clauses, and I didn't even know really what a clause was. So it's been, yeah, we kind of got to the point where we needed help. So I've been chatting with Jesse Peterson, who's been wonderful for helping me. And we started to kind of go through it, and we realized that I really needed to step back to the basics and build up my basic grammar so that I can then understand how to do some of these more complicated bits, because like I didn't have that base understanding. So that's what we're sort of working on right now, sort of taking the ideas here in this presentation, and I have a bunch of code for this. And we're going to continue documenting it and filling out those details and figuring it out so that we can get to the more complicated stuff, which will be fun. Let's see. Oh, we have a lot of writers and conlangers. Yeah, I love writing. It's so much fun. Nemo asks, what do you mean? I can't force people into learning a conlang just to read a book. I mean, you can try. There are definitely people out there that would be super into that. But like, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. At some point, like, I've been trying to think of story ideas that would like justify having a lot more explanation of, you know, doing the conlang, which would probably be like characters that are forced in a situation where they don't speak each other's languages and they have to like figure it out. But like, then that language disparity is almost the entire plot of your book. So like, you have to really want to do it to, I feel like, get into too crazy. Con says, I'm a very new conlanger too. I've made 3. First was a bar, which had 4 remakes. Then a Marian, which is a bandit, and then a Var, my best one so far. Yeah, you're way ahead of me. I've done some naming languages, pretty much. Yeah, exactly, Aaron. If Nebo writes a good enough book, people will just do it. Yeah, Tolkien, exactly. Okay, so let's jump over to up here. There we go. So this is from Jesse's, what is it called? She has a document. Oh gosh, I talked about it at the beginning of the last stream, I think. But it's her document with all the steps for how to, you know, set up a conlang, like the basic initial like starting point steps. And so I kind of have gone through here, and some of these we don't need to worry about, right? Like questions. We are commanding spirits to do things, right? There is no opportunity I can think of where a question would come into play. Potentially you could ask them things, but they can't talk back to you. So it'd be more like conditional commands, like, you know, if this happens, alert me would be more of it, or if there are people here, alert me, right? Like less direct questions. And so some of these I just don't have at all. Like, why would I need an adjective per se? I don't know if I need adverbs, right? Like those are parts of a conlang or a language in general that I don't think I need for this use case. And then I've started highlighting some of the ones we've already documented. So what we're going to work on today, I have this written down, is we're going to start by wrapping up determiners, which we started documenting. See what we have to document for adpositions, which may be covered mostly by what the determiners we have, and then we're going to start working on verbs. So I'm going to need to switch the screen here, but oh, Con, is that question for me? What stage are you into writing your book? So this one that this spell language is for, I have like, I'm working on the first draft. I have a few chapters, and I finished the outline, but I'm not going to be actively working on writing it for a while. I'm working on another book right now that's in the third draft, and then I have one that I've already finished. So this is one that I have time to figure all of this out. My conlangs are just very complex naming languages at heart. That's fair. That's fair. I feel like that works very well also for like books and like RPGs and that sort of thing. Like when you're not doing it for like, I don't know, movies or other things like that. Oh, Conlang year. Yes, Nemo. That is where this list is from. I think this is the list from Conlang year of like the overarching guide, because she has a starting like grammar document. And I kind of just pulled all the sections to kind of give us a place to start with. Let's see. Ooh, writing songs and poetry in your conlang. Yeah, that would be epic. I feel like that would be so fun just to like, you know, feel like that'd be fun. Oh, I'll have to look into that. Out of the Silent Planet, which has some. Oh, that's cool. An Oxford linguist as the main character. That's very neat. I'll have to look into that. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So let me switch screens, which I have to stop screen, present, share screen, window. There's my code. All right. So this is our grammar sheet. And since we have some new people, we're going to I'm just going to show us what we've got very, very high level so far. But we have some of our background and information. We have our base sound system, which for the new people, I'm really weird with this where I'm not using IPA again, because this is just for a book. So I have no intention on it being pronounced, although I do plan on doing an audiobook at some point. So I'm probably shooting myself in the foot here, but my expectation is that I don't really want to do a pronunciation guide, or I don't want to have to do one. I want it to be relatively intuitive for a general English speaker, just because I struggle with that. So I don't know. That's just what I want to do. So it's basically everything is pronounced the way a generic English speaker would pronounce it, which still means there's a lot of ways they could pronounce things. But I'm trying to make it as phonetic as possible. And so basically, I'm still sort of doing the IPA concept, right? Like I have the whole table with how I figured things out. I've just pre-Romanized it, was I think how Jesse explained it to me, which made me feel slightly better about my shenanigans. Don't want people to properly pronounce the spells. Safety first. True. I'm honestly surprised by the simplicity of this phonology. Are you sure you don't want to spice things up at all? Yeah, so I basically, for this one, I chose things that were very default English speaker pronounceable, right? So it's a very, I don't want to say it's very vanilla, but I don't have any weird sounds in here because, again, I want it to be really easy to pronounce. And because it is a polysynthetic, that's what I'm looking for, a polysynthetic language, there's they get kind of long, so I don't I feel like at that I need it to be easier to pronounce, and also given that this is my first one, hopefully later on when I get more familiar with IPA and how to even do weirdly pronounced things that I can't just naturally read as an English speaker, my skill level is not there yet, but one day. Yes, so we have that. We did syllables. We've gone through our basic phonotactics, which is all fairly basic. I do a lot of stuff based off percentages of how often things come up, just because I use a program to generate this stuff and to hold all the language. So that's a big thing. I wanted to have that feel where certain sounds and letters and stuff are more frequently coming up. We did the basic grammar, which is great. We did nouns, our noun cases, which we're going to have to come back and look at this once we get to the determiners, because they kind of relate with each other. Let's see. Plurality, possession, determiners. Yeah. So we've done kind of this stuff, and we're going to start working on determiners because I left a lot of to-dos, and I think I'm slightly not organized the best right now, so we might have some problems there just with like how I'm referring to things, which is sort of also why this was so important, is that in the presentation, like the way we were first going through this, I was kind of calling things the wrong thing and like labeling them wrong in my head, which made it really hard for Jessie to help me. So like half of this is me really learning these things, figuring out like what I really have so far so that, you know, I can talk to Jessie about it and like figure out what's going on. Khan says, personally, reading the wiki of a sound I don't know helps me pronounce it a ton. They also have a sound file, for example. Yeah, so something like that could definitely be done. But, you know, I've not seen any tenses yet, though. What are they? So tenses are, I think those are down here. Yeah, so we have basically non-future and future. So that's like our post-verb stuff. Which essentially just have markers, and I haven't actually figured it out because I haven't created a spell that is in like the future tense yet. And then we have some aspects that, again, I haven't fully figured out what the markers are yet because I haven't written any spells yet that use those. And then we have our intensifier markers. So that's sort of that category there. But okay, let's go up and look at determiners. So from our presentation, the way this sort of works, let me pull up my, I know you can't see this, but I'm pulling it up to the side. But so basically, because it's polysynthetic, all of these kind of get lumped into my verbs. So typically with the object of the verb, right? So like the verb will incorporate like the direct object, and then all of the like determiners and things that modify that noun with it. So for our determiners, I have a couple categories. So we've already done plurality, and we've already done pronouns and spatial determiners, and those were all up here. So we have plurality is here, possessive is here, and spatial is here. So I've categorized those differently, even though I like, yeah, I don't know. I think it makes sense, right? Having spatial determiners here. So we have spatial, which is basically from the person talking, like something close to them, something further away, and something far away. There's no super hyper specific way to refer to things because it wouldn't quite make sense to the spirits themselves, right? So it's mostly like thing I'm referencing, far away, close, which means there's a little bit of ambiguity in how the spirits can interpret it, whether or not they want to kind of do what you're saying or they don't, right? Like if you're forcing a spirit to do something and they don't want to, right? There might be some shenanigans involved there. Hello, Miles. Welcome. Yeah, exactly, Con. Basically everything by default is just present, and there's no non-future. There's not really like, it's hard because like again, you're talking to spirits, and there's not really that conversational. Like you couldn't say, "Oh, I went and I did this in the past," because that has nothing to do with making a command to a spirit. So it's possible that the language, if I were to develop the full language, even what will never come up, that they would have other ones, but like it's not relevant for the way that this language is used in the book. Yeah, it's the same structure as a lot of Inuit languages, I think. Yeah, I've gotten that before, and I've started looking into it a little bit. I need to do more, but there's definitely some similarities there. Yes, okay. So the ones that we're missing, and I've called these determiners, right? But I don't know if they actually are per se. They're sort of like prepositional markers that link the unincorporated indirect objects back to their verbs. So these usually would go, actually, these wouldn't be incorporated into the verb, which is maybe why they're sort of separate, because these go on the indirect object, and then they're they link over to, I think, the noun cases. Yeah. Yeah. So then, like, if you have a noun that is like locative, right, where it links to a location, then you would additionally have your indirect object, which isn't incorporated, would then have the locative marker on it based off the specific type of locative it is. So like to or towards, into, through, away from, that sort of a thing. Okay. Yes. So we started to talk about distributive, but we're not going to actually specify that because we might not actually need to do it. And I think Jesse recommended not doing that if I don't need to. But then what I think we still need to add is, let's see, what are the affixes? Are those, is that where I meant to continue this? Because these are prefixes. Yeah, I don't think I have these anywhere else. Let me search for lative, for example. Let's see. Nouns have locative and lative prefix markers that link indirect objects back to their main verb. Oh, I was just adding a note for that in the add positions if that comes up. But yeah, so we have the noun case, but we don't have it documented yet. So let's go back up to where all of our determiners are. Right, and let's add a table for this. So we're going to want to have, should these be their own section? I feel like they should be their own section because they're sort of like a separate type. So like maybe we add like a subsection of, what would you call these? Like, would you call these prepositional markers? Does that sound correct? Prepositional markers. If that's wrong, someone warn me because I have no idea. But yeah. So paste. Ugh, I'm trying to paste from the PowerPoint and it's not letting me. There we go. All right. So we need to add 4 different tables for these somehow. Are these, okay, Miles asks, are these being affixed onto the verbs? So these are affixed onto nouns. So there's 2 parts to this, right? There's the noun case that goes on the noun that is incorporated in the verb. So it's not on the root of the verb, but it is incorporated into the verb. And then these markers we're talking about right now go on the unincorporated nouns that are outside of the verb. If that makes sense. It's always hard for me talking about like how this stuff gets talked about for a polysynthetic language, which I guess is probably mostly because I'm an English speaker who mostly only knows very similar languages to English from that regard, that it's weird to talk about the verb, which also has like nouns in it and like all types of other like things in this big verb thing, but then like there's the verb root that's like what we think of a verb. I don't know. It's a whole thing for me. They can be classified as cases then. Can they be? So I don't think they're cases, or at least I hadn't been thinking of them as cases. The ones that are on the, like, I guess direct object are cases, and those are suffixes, but these are more like, they're just like markers that go, like, are incorporated as prefixes onto the front of the indirect object. So it would be like, you would have one that means under or above or behind or inside, around, with, towards, right? That sort of stuff is all like incorporated into it. Hello there. Always cracks me up. I think working through the table first will help find the appropriate title for the heading. Okay, let's do that then. So I'll add some exciting question marks and we will work on adding these. So we have dative, we have lative, locative, and instrumental. So the idea with instrumental, these are markers to indicate indirect object is, how would I word that? So by means or tool is the note I have. So markers to indicate the indirect object is the means with which the noun, direct object, something, or the tool used. Does that even make sense? Well, okay, hold on. I think I'm being stupid here. Well, not stupid, but like, because I don't know things. Oh, have fun with your bike ride, Aaron. Hello, Greg. So I think that it's not necessarily linking to the indirect object or to the direct object, because verbs can have indirect objects and not have direct objects, I think, right? Is that a correct statement? I think that's a correct statement. So it's mostly just linking back to the action. So I guess it's linking back to the verb. So the means with which the verb action is done, or the tool used in the action, might be the right way to word that. Yes, okay. We are in agreement. I'm not completely losing my mind. So we have, let's see, for categories, we want the abbreviation, we'll want the marker, and then the prefix and the description. So we'll still want this style of table. So abbreviation, this is going to be a prefix marker, I think is what we have. Yes. Hold on. And then here we want the, I guess, the instrumental type, and then the description. So right now we only have one, which is with/by. And then the prefix marker is MIS. And then, you know, I could add a description at some point. But that's sort of what we have for instrumental. So then we can say this marker can be paired with a noun case, with an instrumental noun case on the direct object of the verb. I think that makes sense. Yes. Okay. So that's the instrumental ones. And so we probably want to add an example of this. Miles says, should I embark on the arduous journey of moving a Sheets lexicon to make a dictionary in the main grammar's doc? Probably so. Yeah, I have not embarked upon that at all. All of my words that I figured out so far are either like these grammatical words. Oh gosh, I asked this question, I feel like every single stream, the difference between like the grammatical words and the like the other words, right? Where these are all like coded in, and then the other ones are just like I have a constants file with all the other words I figured out, which there's not many of them. I think I have like maybe 20 non-grammatical words so far. But yes, okay. So if we want an example of instrumental, let me see if I have an example in the PowerPoint somewhere. Let's see, instrumental. Do I not even have an example of this? That's helpful. Oh, no. We might have to work on that. So to do example, but this would basically be like water the garden with the watering can, right? You know, type of thing. That's probably too complicated of example, but like, water the garden with the watering can. And then basically the watering can would have this on it. But I think this would typically be, so I need to figure out how I want to use the abbreviations, because I have the obvious ones as the noun case abbreviations, where this one is INS is what it is. but I don't know if, let me confirm that. Yeah, so the noun case is INS. I'm not sure how I want to distinguish that from these. Like if there's a common way to indicate that. Because I feel like they need to be different, right? A water the garden with rain, that's a simpler answer. I like that. Or a simpler example. Where am I? Did I just... Oh, I did that in the wrong spot. Hold on. We're down here. Water the garden with rain. Where rain would have an instrumental marker. Yeah. So we'll have to actually fill out that example, but yeah, I don't know what the abbreviation style is for that, but we'll have to figure it out. But I think that's essentially all the stuff we need to have for these. So let's quickly go through and make the other ones. Native, dative. Let's see, dative is another short one. Let me just copy this up here. So markers to indicate indirect object is the recipient / beneficiary of the verb action. And I know like most people that actually know linguistic stuff probably think all of these definitions are superfluous, but they really help me because I know nothing. So this marker can be paired with a dative noun case. So example, let's see. Just add like 2. Maybe move the rain to the garden. I don't know. Where the garden would have a... Oh, wait, no, hold on. I'm thinking about this wrong. I'm thinking about this as the lative marker. No, that is dative. That is dative. I think that's correct. So 2, and this is, I think, Jim is my prefix marker here. And again, this can't actually be DAT because that's my noun declension abbreviation. Oh, Greg has some ideas. Could use ins.n, .n, where n references the noun. Well, the other ones are nouns too, though, right? So would that make sense? Because other ones are more, like, I guess they're cases, so maybe that's the more standard use, and this is less standard, perhaps. That example sentence could perhaps be tricky because it kind of reads like a locative. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think of something that would make sense as a recipient. I mean, it could be to me. So bring the... You're right, because that's moving something. I think it's the move part that makes it confusing. It's an indirect object, so it can't be like burn me or something, or burn them, because... Well, could it? Is that if you were to say... Because that's really create fire to me. So that might actually be an indirect object, one of those cases where it's not gonna have a direct one. Give the rain to the flowers. Yeah, okay, that works. That makes more sense. Give rain to the flowers. Yeah, because that's very obviously like, yes. Brilliant. Thank you, Nemo. Okay. So yeah, so we have this one. Then lative and locative are longer. And these ones are a little weird because they share a noun case. So let's copy this with a with the shared locative lative noun case. Yeah. So this is motion to a location. Markers to indicate indirect object. I guess. Okay, hold on. This is the part I really struggle with, is trying to wrap my head around exactly what these things mean. So this is motion to a location. So markers that indicate indirect object is because they're okay. So locative is in relation to. So that's under, above, behind, on, inside, and around. Lative is like to or into or through or away from. Trying to figure out how to word that to make it make sense. Okay, lative involves action. Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, because it's motion, right? It's motion relative to another object. So that, okay, so this is the action is done with an motion in relation to an object. The examples here being like, i.e. towards, into, through. So marker to indicate is done with motion in relation to the indirect object. The action, the verb action. Wait, did I just mess that up? Hold on. Okay, so marker to indicate the verb action is done with motion in relation to the indirect object. I think that vaguely makes sense. Like how in Latin the preposition in is interpreted as into when used with the accusative, but just means in when used with the ablative. Okay. Okay, I'll think about that. Yeah, so that's lative. And then conversely, for locative, it's basically just the location the verb is occurring. So the verb is located yeah. And then our examples are under, above, behind, I think, right? I think that makes sense. Okay. Wow. Yeah, some of these things are just very hard for me to wrap my brain around. And it would really help me if I had some sort of linguistic background. But I'm like definitely one of those people that before I started doing this, I was like, I think I could tell you what an adverb is, maybe. I could definitely tell you what an adjective was. But like that was my level of grammatical understanding. Okay, so for lative, we have to/towards, which is yum, which could you have a better prefix marker than that? We have into, which is ner, and you are. We have through, which is sim. And we have away from, which I mean, technically this is like ablative, which is that vos or yos? think that's yos. It's hard to read because, yeah, it's yos. It's hard to read because there's a red line under it because PowerPoint is like, what on earth are you doing with these things that are not real? Oh, hello, Maxwell. I don't think I've seen you around here. What's the name of your book? Have you published it yet? No, I have not. And this one is probably going to be, let's see. So the book I'm actually working on right now, which isn't this one, that book and the sequel to it will come out next year. I wouldn't anticipate, it's probably gonna be like 2 years before the first book using this comes out. Because I'm not even gonna be able to start really actively drafting, like working on the first draft until like probably next year around this time. But that means we have lots of time to make this language and the other things. Like I have a lot of other stuff in this world. Like I have a really complicated chemistry system, which I'm gonna have my friend who is actually like a chemist take a look at it and give me some thoughts on it. So I'll need to be working on that too, but I want to take the time to figure all this stuff out. And it's going to be really complicated because one of the major plot points in this book is going to be translation, which is why I need to go into this so much. Is it's not like I can just have random things because they're trying to translate a grimoire to do essentially a heist, like it's kind of a heist story. And so they need to be able to figure out how to understand how these spells work and how to cast them when there isn't anyone in the world that is fluent. So they basically have to try and just figure it all out based off decoding like ancient grimoires and stuff. So like I need to actually be thinking about like in this language, like in translation, what would be the things that could easily be confused or messed up, or like why would they be difficult, and like what that path would actually look like based off the language structure to figuring out things. So like once we have this figured out, like there may be some what is it called? What are we doing? Streaming. Some streams where I'm just like, okay, how can we mess all this stuff up? Which things are similar to each other? Like breaking down that sort of stuff. Oh, we need to update our abbreviations. Yes, good call, Greg. Okay, before we forget. So where is this? Yeah, so I don't have these at all yet. Okay, so these have, I feel like, fancy linguistic terms, right? So away from is probably technically a description, whereas what this is ablative, I think. Or honestly, these might have different words when they're used in this context, maybe. But so I might have to like look up if there's ways to refer to that, because like I feel like this is more specific as a grammatical term. So I'm not sure if there's words for these specifically, but let's look it up. So what type of word is ablative technically? I know it's a grammatical term. Okay, so this is the case. So ablative is the case, but we want technically maybe a preposition. Is that what this maybe a grammatical term for, I'm just going to say through, for example. So through is a preposition. It can be used whatever. I'm looking for like if there's like a word for that. I don't know if there is. I don't know if Oh, through is perlative. Dang, Miles. All right. Wow. Okay. So through is perlative. Dang. Okay. So then we have into. We have to/towards. Let me look up perlative real quick and see what it calls that. Grammatical case. It's a relatively rare case found in a few inflected languages, such as certain Australian Aboriginal languages and Inuktitut. Probably can't pronounce that correctly. Okay. Which that makes sense. That makes sense. So we're looking for grammatical case for into. From is a preposition. Away from. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, this is saying into is a preposition, not a grammatical case. So I guess maybe into is maybe the wrong word for it. I've wanted to do a drag collective based off lative case names, so perlative, abilative. That would be fun. Okay, I feel like I need to. These are not the English equivalent of them being lative cases, then maybe, and that's my problem. Hello, Erin. Thank you. I also hope you have a good Sunday. I'm mostly going to be spending, once I'm done with this, the rest of my day reading through my developmental editor feedback, which I got yesterday, and it has completely exploded my brain. Like, I know they say that, like, paying a professional editor is, you know, like, there's a reason they're professionals, but oh my gosh. It was humbling, we'll say the least. Wikipedia has a list of grammatical cases. You should check it out. Oh boy. Oh boy. Maybe that's what I need. So, because I feel like I looked at that before, and that's how I found the top level one. Okay. So let's see. Those are basic. We already have dative. Okay, so we have ablative. Genitive is possessor. We don't need that. Vocative, we have locative in general. I wonder if I open up locative if there are more like subtypes. There's athematic, which is expressing the place where. I think that's not what we need. That's not what we want. No, I don't think this is what we want. Let me go back to the grammatical cases. Oh, OMG. What is the OMG for? What are we excited about? I feel like I got confused by the context, mostly because I don't know what's going on with anything right now. I feel like this doesn't have anything. Am I looking at the wrong thing? Oh my gosh. There's a table that has some very weird words. Propriative, originative, commutative, alative. It's weird. Signify something comes from something, somewhere, or someone. So, okay. The alative case is a locative grammatical case signifying that something comes from something, somewhere, or someone. Interesting. Hold on, let me pull up my locative cases. I don't think that actually fits what I have here, but that's really interesting. Oh, getting your editor's critiques back. Yes, it is very exciting. It's very exciting. I am honestly, when I get to writing the book with all of this stuff in it, I am absolutely going to do a developmental editor because I feel like it is going to be so hard from a world building perspective to portray all of this stuff in a way that makes sense and the rules are portrayed well enough that like it builds enough that like all the new discoveries with like the language and the potion crafting system and stuff that they have foundation and that the readers can understand how and why things end up happening, but that there's still a surprise. Like, I feel like that's going to be really hard to portray all of this narratively. Generally, they aren't really official linguistics terms for all the different prepositions, since meanings very much so cross-linguistically. Okay, so like maybe I just need to like make up words for this to an extent. Like I mean that can be. I mean I could just say like this is to, right? Or toe for towards, maybe. Like I could just do like that. I don't know if that's like good. Semantic maps are getting more popular, like for to see what's more common across languages. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, hello, Decibel. Thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, let's do this then. Towards. Okay, so let's go down to locative and get these filled out real quick. Because we have more for this. We have under, which is null. Oop, yeah. We have above, which I can totally spell, which is sill. Let me add my dashes. We have behind, which is chir, C-H-I-R, which CH in my language is sort of a single sound. I have like some sounds that I represent with 2 letters, and CH is one of those. Oh, you like those two, toe and int, but int might be taken already. Oh, that's a good point. Let's see if that's already taken. It is not. It might be used elsewhere. I'll probably have to do a search through of all my abbreviations at some point, and like, would it be normal in creating a grammar in general to have like a list, like a glossary, like an abbreviations glossary? Would that be a thing? And would that be like alphabetical or by sections where I would just have those? Like if you needed a little like reference cheat sheet when reading stuff, is that a thing? Is that a thing? Because I feel like that would help me. Okay, Maxwell says yes. Yeah, fair. Okay, so where were we? Oh, typically by section. Okay, I can do that. Actually, because I have the memory of a goldfish. Let's go down to the bottom real quick. Okay, so I have glossary. Let's also add abbreviations by section. Brilliant. Okay, I think that will help. For most study/reports, it's a must. Yeah. And I think part of the reason I didn't, well, other than the fact that I know nothing, I think part of the reason I also didn't document this super well, because I'm like, I'm the only person who needs to see it. But then when I was like, yes, Jesse, I would love your assistance. And she looked at my presentation and she's like, I have no idea what you're trying to do here. And I was like, oh no. Not really. She figured out a lot, but it came to the point where I'm like, if I'm showing this to people and talking about it to people, and like if at some point I want to put this somewhere where people can look at it, or if I want to participate in a oh, what are those things called that they do, that the relays, which I don't think I have enough of a conlang to do a relay. It would be really weird, like, because I don't have so many things. Like it would be really weird. But you know, I feel like in that case I would need to have something like this if I want anyone else to be able to look at it or give me feedback. And I know a few other conlangers that I could probably like ask for more direct help if like I get really stuck versus like just getting general help on the stream. It would probably be helpful to have something that I can hand to them that makes sense to real conlangers. Not that I should probably be calling myself not a real conlanger, but I don't feel like one, so I feel like I'm a noob. All right. So it's okay. Most people have to make up new things every relay because you can never have everything figured out. Yeah. I feel like, and I was talking to George about this from Conlangery about, I think he was joking. I think Edgar of Artifexian, were on a stream, and he was joking that we should be in his relay. And Edgar and I were both like, oh, we do not know enough to do that. Like, because it's like time constrained. But I feel like if I paired up with someone who was like a good conlanger, and I was like, okay, like we're going to take my stuff and then I'm just going to ask you tons of questions when I run into all the things I don't have in my language, because it would take me way too long. Like I'd need like a month to do my section of the relay, which would be probably not what they're looking for. But that's okay. Okay, so I'm just going to do the same thing I did before. There might be specific words for this. Oh, ins won't work because that's like instrumental. Wit might be better here. What do you need? Oh gosh. Okay, my husband's coming up. Okay. There was a bug in the small child's room. They're so time consuming. I can imagine. They're so fun to watch though. Like I feel like that's a really good way for me to understand concepts of conlanging because like I don't know how all of you guys learned this. Um and I mean, you know, guys in the gender neutral sense. But I don't know because like I've been watching some of like David and Jesse's conlanging streams, some of George's, some of Bib's, like just like various ones, Icons, and it's so hard like watching them do a full thing like when it takes 80 bajillion streams to kind of pick up on the core concepts, you know? Like I feel a little lost. But like the relays, I feel like you get all that a lot of that top level like structure information like as a good foundation. I don't know. They're very educational to me and fun. Um, but yes. Okay. So I think this will work unless there's conflicts here with these, but I think that works. So this is all of our prepositional marker cases. Oh, fellow lost newbie conlanger here. Yes. It's a hard life. It's a hard life, especially when there's all these like super smart people out there that just seem to know everything. And I'm just like, gee, what's a noun? Like, you know? I feel like the people that were here for the first few like streams of me working on this were probably like, wow, you know? But all right, let's make an example for lative, which could be for any of these. Although, would it be important from a grammar structure to have all of these? Wait, and now you tell me the nouns are classes? Wait, what? What? Are they? Wait. Classes. An exercise I've enjoyed similar to conlang relays is holding a conversation in the conlang and parsing each section of dialogue. Oh my gosh. Like doing your own like translations back and forth. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do I need to have an example for all of these? Is a question. I feel like probably that seems like a thing to do. Sep says yep. Okay. Oh, you were making a joke about knowing there are nouns and there are noun class. Yeah. Oh no, I get it. Okay, okay, I get it now. I follow you. I follow you. Yeah, that's funny. Oh, yeah. It's been fun wrapping my brain around it, and honestly, because I've done all of this for like a polysynthetic language, my understanding of like the grammar of this and how this works is actually probably better than my like technical understanding of English, which is kind of a problem, but it's fine. Depends on how irregular they end up being to TBH. Yeah, that's probably fair. And they'd all kind of be the same. So like if I were to, let's just do an example here real quick. We're voting for more examples. Okay. And at some point, I'll need to actually go through. And I think once we get the general structure and we start building more of these out, we'll have an easier time building the actual examples. Because again, I don't have all of the, like, what these actually are, like what the actual affixes are or pieces of the grammar. I have a lot of them, right? Like all of these I have, but I don't have that for all of them. So let's see, an example for this. What structure are these normally done in? Like, probably, would you do full abbreviations, what it would translate to, and then what that would be in the language? Would you need all three of those parts for an example? Because if I was trying to say like, no. So this could be like low wind towards me. We'll say that because that's simpler, right? Or we could have like blow wind into the fire. Could be a thing. I would just give an English version example. Oh, so just like this, just so that you know what this is for, not necessarily an example using it. Through, blow wind through the trees. Blow wind away from me, I guess. So is that all we would need there? Because that's pretty basic. So another option would be example in language plus English translation plus parse syntactic / morphological role. Okay, you're gonna need to help me out here. Parsed syntactic plus morphological role. What does that mean? Okay, we like this example. Might be too technical. You can even do modified English, like a literal translation. Could you give me an example of this? Although an English translation works fine. Okay. Yeah, because I feel like once we actually start making spells, like more of the spells again, I can always start like sprinkling them in here as examples. Because the way like this would work is you'd have your verb whatever, verb to blow wind. And then you'd have towards me, lative. Oh, like in the order. Okay. So okay, hold on. Towards me, lative. So the structure would be definitely towards me, and then me being okay, I'm confused by something actually. So what if I don't have a direct noun to decline for this? I guess that's fine. Or would I put that noun declension somehow? Because the way this would be like, so blow wind, essentially, right, would be the verb, and then you would have towards me. But if we had an object here, so like, well, I guess in this case, it depends how I think about this, but like blow wind could be, it could be blow, and then wind could be the direct object towards me. Which I guess you would kind of need that, unless you were saying like, not that this would make sense in world, but if you're saying like run towards me, there isn't a direct object there, right? Like, unless it's implied in English. But at that point, I wouldn't add the lative noun declension on anything because there would be no direct object. So it would just be run and then towards me versus blow wind, where wind would be like in the lative case or whatever, right? Towards me, right? So that you know that towards me links back to this. Okay. Then in that case, I just don't need one. Okay. Chill. Okay. Blow wind in the lative case. I don't know how you like type this, but like I think that's what that would be, what that structure would look like. Well, it's still the indirect object / lative case. Well, but like this, the indirect object isn't declined, I don't think. Or wait, is it? Hold on. Different forms depending on if it follows vowel or consonant. Recipient beneficiary. Maybe it is actually. Maybe I'm confusing myself. Okay, you won't suggest adding noun cases. Okay. So blow wind towards me. Okay. So blow wind And this would be into fire. This would be blow wind through trees. And this would be blow wind away me, I guess would be what that is. Probably confusing myself here. Okay. That's good. That's good. I think at this point, though, I don't need... I think maybe I can just do, like, meaning. Or, like, lative type. And since we don't have specific, like, categories for this, I don't know if we need the description section at all. I think that is unnecessary. So let's just... Because most of them don't have anything to put there. Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably good. So the grammatical form's usually in the form below wind lative, where the lative is all caps attached with a hyphen. Is this language... Oh, Miles, enjoy the gym. Enjoy the gym. Thank you for joining. Okay, is this language treating wind as a noun and is part of the verb blow wind? Some languages do the latter. Yeah, so it depends on how I wanted to do this. I think... Let me look at what I have. I can't remember what I've done for this, but a lot of them end up being like pulled together. So let's see. Do I have wind? Yeah, so I have one word that means essentially sky or wind or air. So what you do is you take that word, right, which is rule, R-O-O-L, which actually, hold on. You'd take that and then you would... Where are my verbalizers? Okay, so to blow wind, you would probably... Would that be creational to use the wind? Maybe, so it might be instrumentative. So, because most of my verbs are created by taking a noun and then adding a verbalizing suffix onto it. And then that creates your verb. I feel like these are so like... I don't know. But yeah, so it would either be causative, so to cause wind could be to blow, right? So that would be rule do would be to cause wind or cause air. Rule ni, wow, would be to use wind like an instrument. Right? And then this definitely wouldn't be reflexive, and this wouldn't be a base for a word that's already a verb. Are these noun forms attached to verbs? So this is a polysynthetic language. So it's all incorporated like into pieces, right? So these markers specifically would be attached to the indirect object, which isn't in the noun. So these pieces aren't in the verb itself. No, that's not unheard of. Classical nahutl has a lot of verbalizing. Okay. Yeah. So that's essentially what blow wind would be. So I guess there wouldn't actually be a direct object in this case. So technically, I guess it would be wind caused. I don't really know how you would type that, but like, yeah, technically it's that. Like this wouldn't be correct because it would be... I'm not sure if it would make more sense to have cause wind is to blow, or to have like use the wind or use the air as blowing, which I feel like that might make more sense than causing air, right? So I think maybe we go with this. Then it would be like wind use towards me is sort of what that would be. Nawatul? Nawatl? Or Nawatl. Yeah, okay. Okay, brilliant. Yes. Okay, thank you. Pretty much up to you. Okay. Cool. So yeah, I think it would be Rulni, use wind instrumental, and then it would be towards me. I'm not gonna do this for all of these, I'm just doing it for this one since we started looking at it and I feel so inclined. So then it would be yum, and then what is me? I don't have a word for me. I don't think. Do I? Where is my no, I don't have a word for me. So oh, hello, Erin. Wait, are you back? Are you back, Erin? I'm just gonna do that because I don't actually have that word yet. But that's essentially what it would be. It'd be Rulni yum something would be this. Erin is sort of back. Are you actively riding the bike right now? Okay, yeah, halfway through. Okay. I'm just imagining like riding a bike like with your elbows. Like it's a good visual. Okay. So let's switch this description out with an example. And I can always fill those in later, but oh, you're at a castle? You're at a castle, Aaron? Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. I feel like that's one of the like hard things about America. We don't have many castles, and the castles we do have are not like old castles, you know? It's a shame. It is a shame. Okay, so okay, wait, we already have our example here. So give rain to the flowers, which would be essentially ooh, wait. Wait a second. Rain is oh, we did this in example. Hold on, I know what rain is. Let me find it. Is it like create water? I swear we have this. We have okay, here's what it is. Rain is wet sky compounded. So compound noun, create, and then so that's rain. That's how you do rain. And then to the flowers would then be native and flowers, whatever. I won't do the rest of that because then you need like the pluralizer and all that other stuff. This has a good view, unlike my town's castle. Really is a flex. Like, my town has a little mini clock tower at one of the shopping centers that my kids call Big Benji after the clock tower in Paw Patrol. That's what we've got. Town's castle is like one room left because it got blown up by cannons in the 1600s. Like, that's so cool. That's so cool. It's so cool. Ugh. Ugh. I've talked about this before, but like I tried to move to like Scotland or Ireland or Wales or something like that, and they're just like didn't want me. So sad. I could have lived amongst castles. So this is wet sky create and then two flowers would be like our example there. There's a mini castle in Kingston, Ontario. Oh. Oh. We don't even have mini castles. I mean, we have like rich people houses that they're like, oh, look, they're castles. They're not castles. 2.8 million. Wow. I feel like that's not that much. CAD. CAD. How much does... I'm not entirely sure how that relates to American dollars, but I assume it's semi-similar. Clock tower in the Paw Patrol. Yeah. My children are now 4 and 6, and my 4-year-old is absolutely obsessed with Paw Patrol. Everything is based off Paw Patrol. They're always pretending to be dogs, they're always running around, doing their rough rescues. Kids, man. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not going to do a separate example here because I feel like we have individual examples. 2 flowers. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty good there for an example. Oh, it's a shame though, because it was the birthplace of a king. A king was born in your town, in your town's castle. Rubbing it in. Cat is 70 cents on the dollar right now. Okay. Yeah, I feel like that's still like a pretty reasonable amount of money for a castle. Definitely a mini castle. But I mean, if it's a private residence, I think that makes sense. Oh, and you were that kid during your childhood. Yeah. I mean, fair. Like I was too. I had my obsessions, but you know, it's a rough life. It's a rough life. It's okay. Feel free to rub it in, Aaron. I do not begrudge you that. It's fine. I can dream. Oh, Con wants to know, are you going to do more world building streams? So I don't know how many I'm going to do on the channel once I split the channels, right? And I have Madeline James Writes and Madeline James World Builds. I need to figure out what kind of content and how quickly I can put it out once I'm doing this full time. So starting in June, because I do want to keep moving forward at a decent pace with the specific world building guide parts. But I also want to start getting into like separate like topics that aren't necessarily part of a whole guide. Like I want to do an entire probably mini series on just like building food culture because it's so fascinating. And so I'd love to do that and like other small things like that. But for the Patreon, I'm definitely going to do, I think it's weekly world building streams where like, you know, for a couple hours every week, I'll stream whatever I'm world building, like drawing maps or building floor plans or whatever I'm working on. I don't know how often I'll do them in the, on the main channel, the world building specific streams. Like, I don't know if it'll be regular. Oh, wait. But I'm just gonna have to see how much time I actually have, like between my writing and all that, for what goes on the channel. But there will be something at some point. And also, there will be a thing in September that I'm not going to say anything else about. But keep your eyeballs peeled, ears peeled. I don't know what that saying exactly is, but there will be at least in September, definitely a good bit of streams, and then probably other stuff too at some point. But there's a world building conlanging project I'm part of, and I've given my region the reputation of having a lot of cuisine world building. Nice. It's so cool. Like I haven't. Part of my thing with creating all the world building guides and diving into it is I like doing that when I'm going to use it, because then like it just helps my brain be interested in it. I don't know. ADHD is fun. But I haven't I have not dived into it too much, but I really want to. Like, it's so cool. It's so cool. And I think I want to do a little bit of that for this story because there's some weird cultural shenanigans going on in the world of the spell language. I'm going to do all the things. It's going to be such a long book, honestly. It really is. Okay. So under, above, behind, on, inside, around. Let's do start fire under the tree. Might make sense. Start fire above the tree. You know, behind, on, inside, or whatever. I feel like that one's pretty self-explanatory. I can wrap that up later. And then let's move this in here. Water the garden with rain would be, oh god, this one's actually really complicated to do because technically this is wet sky creates proximal plants, and then so water the gardens with rain. No, with Okay, no. Water would be to create wetness with. This would actually make no sense in the language. Create wetness on the plants with wet sky. That makes no sense. Seeing Bib at the start was crazy. Yeah, I feel like Bib hopped into something at some point, but yeah, I was surprised to see him. He's pretty cool. Yes. I think we're all in agreement that Bib is epically awesome. Yeah, this I'm gonna leave this for now because it's weird, but I think I'll need to replace it with an example that's a little bit simpler at some point because it is a little bit much. But okay, what do we want to call this section? Are these prepositional markers? Are they do we like that term still? Is that still good? A native speaker would interpret it completely normally, hence the fun of literal translations. Yeah, that is true. How do you do that thing where some messages show up on your screen on the bottom left? So I'm using StreamYard, and so basically I can see what you are all seeing here, and then I have the chats that's pulled over from YouTube, and then if I click on a comment, I can hide it and show it, and it just automatically happens. I don't know. It's just how StreamYard works. Yes. Okay. So if we're leaving that as prepositional markers, then we might be done with this section. Let's briefly look at add positions because where is it? Okay. So add positions, the note I have for these are that they are used to show spatial or temporal relationships or semantic roles. I am wondering if these are not needed at all because I sort of have this function already done. So I'm trying to see if I have add position anywhere. So I have my spatial determiners marked as sort of being like add positions. So I think maybe I just don't need this section because I kind of use them elsewhere. Prepositions are a type of add position. Oh, so maybe. Oh, Con says, I don't even know what add positions are. I mean, they're basically this. That's what they are. So to, from, under, those are all add positions. So I guess I have add prepositional prefixes. So I wonder if I should move all of these under add position. What do we think of that? It's just the neutral term for postpositions and prepositions. Yeah, bumping into Bib is fun. It's very fun. It's nice when because I know everyone's really busy, especially the other creators. Like they've got so much going on all the time. But it's nice when they pop into each other's streams occasionally. They're like, hey, I don't know. It's very supportive. It's very nice, especially when you are small potatoes. It's very nice. Celebrity moments in the world building scene. Yes. Exactly. Oh, it's always crazy. I think Edgar popped onto one of these at some point. I was just like, what are you doing here, Edgar? Yeah, the big dogs of Conlanging? Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Yeah. Oh, wait. So wait, what did anyone have an opinion on this? If I should move the prepositional markers under add positions, which I feel like I should because they are prepositions. Unless it makes more sense for them to be under determiners, but I feel like they're not used like determiners exactly, so I feel like okay, I've got someone saying go for it. All right, so let's check these bad boys out. Okay. So the thing we do have to do, though, other than fixing the level of all of this, is we need to look at ordering, because ordering is going to matter. I think that's right. 2, 3, 4, 3, 2. Okay, so let's see. Oh, wait a second. You have a channel? I did not know that. What is your channel? I mean, I guess I can just click on your. Is it under your current account that your channel is? That's so cool. But yeah, David is very funny. He cracks me up. Um, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the things that I've really, like everyone in, like, the world building, the conlang, like, all of these spaces, they're all so nice and, like, there's a certain type of humble, right? Like, of just, like, we may be super famous and probably spoke to the mother of dragons, but, like, we're all just chill creators doing our thing, like, I don't know. I find everyone so humble and nice, and it's amazing. Um, alright, I'm gonna check that out later, and I'm totally not gonna forget. I'm gonna try not to. Or I would forget. But, the peak of my conlanging career was recommending David a stew recipe. That's great. That's great. Can't be mad about that. Okay. So real quick, ordering. I feel like actually the ordering of these doesn't matter too much because there's not much that can go at the beginning of an unincorporated indirect object. So there are valency markers that can go in front of them, which do I remember what valency markers are? Valency is like adding other objects or something. Oh no, that's what I wrote to reference the prepositional markers, I think. Yeah. Okay. So I think actually this is the only thing that I have right now that goes in front of an unincorporated indirect object. So I don't actually think I need to have anything with the ordering in here, which would make sense. Let's see. Exactly. Exactly, Con. At the end of the day, we are all a bunch of ambitious nerds. True fact. True fact. I was in one of Edgar's WLRST videos. Wait, what's World Builders Log? RST? Something? Something? Oh, Man with the Stew. Add cider as well as stock. Yeah, that's always fun. Yeah, I don't make a lot of stews. I need to get into that, but okay. So we don't need to worry about ordering here, which is fine. That link unincorporated back to their verb. Okay, yeah, add position. Add to the verb. I feel like there's nothing to say. I think that kind of sums it up, right? There's not really anything else to add there. So that kind of shows this here. Oh, unless you're going to have postpositions / circumpositions, you don't necessarily need the add positions category. I don't know if I will. I don't know. I'm going to add a note for that, though. To do note. Markers, those could go back under or determiners. This world makes me understand why I hate grammar. Yeah. Edgar did a kind of showcase of world building a few good moons ago. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, like they're just, I don't know. They're just such chill people. Like I feel like I get really like what is the word? Not like stage fright, but like I feel like anytime I talk to these pretty like well-known famous conlanger world building people and I get a little starstruck. Who is Edgar? Have you seen the channel Artifexian Con? Edgar is the dude that runs Artifexian. Yeah. But yeah, it's so I don't know. I always get freaked out. Like these are like super celebrities or something, but I don't know. They're all just chill people, just doing their thing, you know? I don't know. Okay. Yeah, so we're good there. So after add positions, I wanted to look at verbs. Yeah. Edgar is Artifexian. Oh no, it's okay. We're mostly just doing documentation, so you're not mixing too much. Wait. I don't have I seen you here before? I feel like Eric's. Is that Eric's? Did I pronounce that correctly? I always get jump scared when I encounter a David J. Peterson reference in the wild. Yeah, it's kind of freaky. It's kind of freaky. Um, yeah, it's a very humbling hobby. Yeah, I feel like that's very true. Um, ba 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 ba. I've had a couple of chats with Edgar in his Artifexian podcast premiere chat. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, he's a cool dude. He really is. I enjoy chatting with Edgar. He's just very like, I don't know. He's just so chill. I feel like we would be like friends in real life because he's just super, super chill. I mean, I guess we're sort of, I don't know. I'm not gonna like claim internet people as friends. I feel like that's weird without their like, I don't know, consent. I don't know. Can you just declare people your friends? Is that a thing? I don't know. But oh wait, really? Oh yeah, the inventor of Valyrian, Dothraki, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Do we know Biblaridian's real name? I don't know if it's public. So everyone just calls him Bib on videos that I've seen. So I don't know if his like real name is public. I know people that are like friends with him in person because that's the other thing I've noticed with a lot of conlangers. They do a lot of stuff in person, where they run into each other and do stuff. I don't know. So like I know there are people that know Bib's real name, but I don't know if it's public. So yeah, not public. Okay, that's what I thought. Hold on. Did I just? Can you see me again? I just clicked the back button on my mouse. Yeah, tell me if you can see me again. I think we're still live. I don't think that ruined us being live. But I'm gonna wait until someone says that we are still live. Okay, okay, you can see me again, Aaron. Okay. Okay, now you can. All right, great. Yeah, I hit there's a little like back button on the side of my mouse and I never use it, but I always accidentally hit it when it's like the least convenient things ever. Okay. Context switching to verbs. Let me scroll down. So we have some sections here for verbs. I have some main questions. Yes, you caught me. Hello there. It's all a ploy to make sure you're paying attention. Okay, so I have notes for talking about how incorporation works. I need to add a note on how building the verb stem and other part works, how verbalizing morphemes works, and how the tense aspect intensifiers work. So we have added some of the post-verb stuff, just the general sections so far. So if I look at verbs, I feel like this is going to take a little bit while to get it really figured out. But let's see. I have the head verb. That's more related to clauses, so I don't need to talk about it. But basically, the way this normally works, right, is you have the subject, which is dropped if there is a mood clause and is indicated by the topic marker. I don't know where I would reference that. But let me just copy this over. So subject is dropped. Which is the case for the head verb of spells, I'll just say. So basically, this is never present for the main verb of the spell. I think it could potentially be present if there's like conditional clauses and stuff. I'm not sure. But yeah, so it's subject, and then it is verb stem, and then it is post verb. And then I have sections down here for the post verb, so I'll probably need to do one for, I guess, the verb stem might make sense. Verb stem. Potentially. Let's see. I mean, my name isn't out there, but my face is because it's at the end of my video. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, like, you all know my real first name. But That's mostly because this is going to be my pen name that I'm going to publish under, so it's just my general like public name for things. Yeah, everyone does things a bit different. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no worries. No worries. Share your thoughts. We're chatty. Okay. So this is the general structure of the verbs. So I feel like I'm trying to think of what like I guess maybe I just need to make a bunch of bullets and then figure out how to condense them into something that actually makes sense. But we probably will want to have a bit talking about, so the incorporation, I guess we can add sub-bullets here. So I know you cannot incorporate proper nouns into a verb or indirect objects. But I'm trying to see if there's much else. Let's see. That's not relevant. Okay. Yeah. All right. So incorporations. Let's see. So for a verb stem composed of a verb root that is already a verb, we would want to use a base verbalizer. So I feel like under verb stem is building the verb root. So let's just say the verb stem of a verb, right, is composed of the verb root, action morphemes, yeah, the verb root and action morphemes, and then the direct object, and its determiners in the order. Yeah. If at some point this is like confusing looking, let me know. Action morpheme. Determiners, because those go before the direct object. And that's the verb stem. So, let's see. Yes. And the direct object and its determiners, so long as it is not a proper noun. Yeah. I think that makes sense. Oh, you have a lot of pseudonyms. I mean, that's fun. I feel like it can be fun to have, like, different, like, personas for things. Okay, so, verb stem, we have all of this, which I feel like that makes sense. So then under here, we would probably have our action morphemes. I don't think we've done those. Do we have those? No. Okay, so this is where we'll have our action morphemes. And then we don't need to do determiners or direct objects because those are in the noun section. So verb roots, we can probably include some like examples maybe of what this could look like. But let's see. Would we have like, so, okay. I feel like building the verb root? What? Your name is not actually hello there? The world is a strange place. Keeps me from sliding into anonymity, breeds sociopathy theory. That's fair. That's very fair. All my pseudonyms are in some way connected to my actual name. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's basically just, it's a different last name just to make it like, I mean, if someone's gonna like try and stalk you on the internet and like they're really like, you know, dedicated, they're gonna find you regardless, you know what I mean? Like, it's really not that hard, especially nowadays with, like, reverse image searches, and you could like, there's so much stuff that you could like, I'm sure you can find anybody. Um, but, like, I like to add that little level of difficulty just to add some, like, protection for my family and everything. But yes. So, if these are all the things in the verb stem, I I'm not sure what this section is called by itself. Um, but let's see. Verb roots are built by taking a verb stems are built by taking a root word, and applying a verbalizing suffix as an action morpheme. Say action morpheme. Yes. So these can commonly be nouns with an action morpheme, with the added suffix. But in the case of a root that is already a verb / implies action, a base verbalizer is added. So I feel like that's the general rule. I'm not sure if there's really anything else that would really be needed to add there other than examples. So I feel like it would be good to add some examples, but the question would be whether or not I would just add them with the individual action morphemes, which might make the most sense. So maybe let me like make the table for those, and then we can consider adding more examples. But so we have the abbreviation, the action morpheme. We'll have the verbalizing suffix. And then I guess potentially an example. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these. We have causative, which is -do, which the example I have for this using causative, which is cause, is making fire. So let's see, fire, pause, be. Let's do it in the same order as before. Start fire. Yeah. I think that makes sense. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we also have terminative, which is basically negated positive, which is DAU. And then we have creational. And then we have destructional, which is really just negated creational. We have instrumentive. And we have reflexive. I feel like I might need like a description for these, because some of them are more complicated, like reflexive. And then base for root with action, I guess. So this is for a verb. I don't think I've actually figured out what this exact one. Yeah. So it's I if it follows a consonant and V if it follows a vowel. Oh, we have a question. Was it ever the main spoken language of the society or just for spells? So I need to figure this out a little bit more before I like go too crazy into like the complex parts of the language, but this is essentially the language used originally, I think, by the goddesses to direct the spirits. And in my world, like I'm calling them spirits because it's an easy thing to kind of understand, but technically it's just the wind. Like the wind is spirits, and everything in the real world has a magical side of it in the magical realm. And so the winds are kind of the dominant, like, magical creatures of the other realm, and that mostly exist in the other realm and exist in our realm as essentially wind. So they're sort of like wind dragons, I guess, but sort of spirits. I don't know. But it's that language used by the goddess to talk to the winds, the spirits. So I don't think I need to figure out if like there would have like how they would have learned like people originally learned it from the goddess, like if maybe the goddess taught the language to the first like group of witches or something like that. But it was never a language that was used by a human society, which is partially why it's like very limited because it's like obviously like it was created by a goddess also who or goddesses who wouldn't know like all the modern stuff that would go along with society. So like the language is definitely limited in that way. So you have more leeway than purely naturalistic. Yes, exactly. And I don't have to worry about I could probably incorporate it, but like I don't have a lot of incentive to build in any sort of like changes over time because it's not a language that necessarily would have changed over time. Like it is a language that in and of itself is magical. And it can be heard in the other realm is sort of the thing. So like I feel like if you changed it, they wouldn't be able to hear you anymore. So it gives me a lots of room there to not have to worry about like, you know, original languages and drift and all of those things that are traumatized or traumatizing me. If those spells are passed down through a book, has the writing system changed over time or the same that the protagonists already know? So this is the fun thing. So the books are in a what I'm calling like a code language where essentially it was the knowledge used to be hoarded by like a secret society, at least within the context of like the known region, the people that they like know of. And so the way in order to keep it private, the secret society developed their own like code language, which is inconsistent in that it's kind of a combination between, and excuse me if I use these words wrong, a proper alphabet, a syllabary, and a lexicography. Is that the word? Where like some symbols might represent a whole word, they might represent a syllable commonly known with that word, or they might represent like a single letter in an alphabet. And so there's trends within the creators of individual spells, but like you'd imagine like each of these witches in this secret society would have written and kept their own grimoires that they used to teach their like predecessors, or not their predecessors, their like the people they were training up under them. And so each one of these witches would have had their own way of using the code language, even if it was sort of the same code language, and there would be some similarities as like things were shared and they worked with each other. Yes, exactly. The hieroglyphic method. Yes. Also, hello, Sugar Ring Donut. That's a fun name. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's similar to that concept, which is it does give you a lot of leeway. But yes, so there isn't necessarily a written system in and of itself for the language. Like once it's written down, it is no longer magical. Partially because the wind spirits don't read. You cannot communicate by writing with this language. So I don't have to come up with like a real alphabet or anything like that. And I'm not going to try to come up with this language Like, as it's like, I'm not gonna come up with the code language itself just because it's just so specific, but I'll probably come up with like, oh gosh, I'll probably have to come up with it a little bit, at least some of the things. Like, I mean, they'll probably, oh god, because they're gonna talk about it and be oh god. Why would you do this to me indirectly by asking me a question that made me think of things? Like shorthand on written prescriptions. Yeah. Or Chinese, yeah, exactly. Exactly. There's a lot of basis for this as a thing, but like it's gonna be like really interesting because if they find spells by one person, then like it's like, okay, well, if this is a spell and we have no idea what it does, and we maybe know some of the ways these symbols are used, if they can find a spell that like within the same grimoire that they can sort of tell, oh, I think this spell does this, right? And maybe they test it out. Maybe it doesn't go horribly wrong, right? And it actually does what they think. And they'd be like, okay, so then these symbols are used in these ways in this grimoire, probably consistently. Maybe. Yeah. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that. There's a lot of opportunity for shenanigans, literally just through it being like that. But I needed this to be something that would be really, really hard to translate. And once they translated one grimoire, it didn't necessarily mean they could translate another one, right? There's lots of complicated societal shenanigans with how all that works, but my society is largely based off. It's inspired by. Why is this not triggering in my brain what the word is? You see it in a lot of historical K dramas. Joseon, the Joseon period is kind of the way that society is structured. It's largely inspired by that. But yes, yes, yes. What were we doing? Action morphemes. Okay. I got distracted there. Sorry. Yeah. So the creational one is foo, which I find funny. So I actually, let me write a to-do because I vaguely recall Jesse saying that my negations might not make sense. Yeah, so I'll have to pull up my notes and see if she had me change something else elsewhere and that if I need to do the same thing here. And let me just add question marks because I need to look at those. But like having it be insertional, I think was the way she said versus being at the end. And I think the way I was thinking about it is that it would have been added to the end, but then maybe there's a Sandhi rule where I don't know. Because UA isn't allowed in my language, I don't think. Hold on, I have a lot of rules with that. Yeah, no UA. So it could have been switched to AU, I think was why I did it that way. So I'll just need to look at that. FUA, but UA isn't allowed. So maybe turned to FAU, question mark. Yeah, I'll need to look into that. But yeah, you may have the words too close phonetically, like tha and fa. Yeah, it's definitely possible. I need to figure out how I want to confirm that at some point. Because, like, to an extent, I do want there to be some things that are too close phonetically. Because if it's entirely done by pronunciation, right? It would be really easy for people to think something means something else. If it's like the pronunciation is like messed up or something, like it's something that like if you pronounce it slightly wrong, you could accidentally cause a different spell to happen, which I could play with the shenanigans of like, but then I would just need to be really intentional in knowing like this can be confused with this. And then if I have a spell that has one of those, writing down what that could easily be confused with, which in and of itself is a whole thing, which would be a lot. But yes, okay, so let's write these out. So terminative would be like put out fire. So fire terminate. Then there would be to create would be oh wait, these go at the end. So fire create, or no, because we're doing like the English translation. So to create fire would be fire create, and then destroy crystal would be form destructive, and then crystal. Right. So like I guess to destroy would be form destructive. That would be a better example, I think. Oh my gosh, I should have gotten water. Hold on 1 second, sorry. I just realized I had told my sister my husband would help her with something. Can you text my sister? There we go. There we go. Okay, hold on. If this language... Oh, hi, George. We were talking about you earlier. If this language doesn't have its own writing, the wizard shorthand could be based on their own writing systems. Yeah, I think I just... You must have popped in right after I was talking about this, but it's sort of like a combination of like a syllabary, a lexicography, and an alphabet where like they'll use different symbols to mean different things. And so each wizard's like grimoires will like sort of be different and mean slightly different things and like have to be translated differently because it's all like based off codes and there's no written version of the language. Considering how evilly specific some Polynesian language pronunciations are, you're probably fine. Might be something to consider if you do the audiobook though, because listeners wouldn't be native speakers. Yeah, I'm like, honestly, when I get around to making an audiobook of this, it's going to be interesting. Like, I'm definitely going to have to find someone who's like really good with doing like some serious epic fantasy nonsense because those tend to have more like weird things to pronounce. And at that point, I might need to make just a full translation guide. But the hope is that everything is spelt phonetically. The hope. The difference between create fire and start fire are a bit too close for me to understand the difference. Perhaps select a different example. That's a good point. Oh, that's because I did have a different... hold on. Create... This is the example I actually had. So create a gust of wind would be wind create, which slightly contradicts something we did earlier, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Because the way the grammar works is not necessarily the same of like exactly how they would use some of these most likely. Instrumentative, I had hammer, so like to hammer would be the hammer, because just because in English it's the same word doesn't mean it would be here. Instrumentive. And then for reflexive, this one's hard. I mean, so this is one that is one of the most common spells that's going to be used in the book is reflexive, but it's a really hard concept, so I might need to think of a better example. But essentially it is, how would I word this? I feel like I worded this somewhere. I actually have this in here. So technically it is bestow yourself is what like the English translation would be, meaning magic. And this is essentially going to be bestow reflexive, which I feel like is a little confusing. AI suggests for reflexive to use I hurt myself. To hurt oneself. Or yeah, to injure oneself. You could also use to heal oneself and be a little less dark about it. Yeah, let's do 2 examples for now. Oh no. Why can't I? Oh, there we go. Okay. So, heal. Well, it would have to be yourself, right? Because you're commanding someone else. So it would be. Oh, but that doesn't make any sense. Because a spirit can't hurt themselves or wash themselves or heal themselves. So what would you make him hurt himself? But they couldn't do that. Like, that wouldn't. Do I care that wouldn't make any sense? Or should I try and make sure this makes sense with the. Yeah, reflexive points back to the subject, which I guess if I had a different type of clause that wasn't like our main head verb, then it could be in there. George would love to do a Conlang heavy audiobook, like as the like audio narrator, or like as like writing a book that would have a lot of conlanging in the audiobook, because I know you do some writing too. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll include heal yourself, or I'll use wash yourself, because that's pretty. Even though this wouldn't necessarily come up in the use case of the language, who knows? Maybe it's a thing. Even though spirits can't wash themselves, but I don't know. We'll include that, which would be wash reflexive, just to like understand what it means. But then the way this would typically mean is going to be super common, because in the potion system, the way potions work is you take real world ingredients, right? Things, but then you have to use the magic components of them. So you basically have to take the ingredients and then command the spirits to essentially bring the magic of that ingredient, which exists in the magic realm, into the human realm, is sort of how that works. So this is part of that spell that is used there. I would like to narrate. I'm not a VA though. Yeah, I like to think that I'd enjoy trying narrating a book, but I think I would learn that I suck at it, given that I'm really bad at doing voices, even just for like kids stories. Like, I can never do them consistently, and I just think I would never be able to do that. Depends on how much you include in the reflexive. Some languages include some types of movement, like cause the wind to move itself, but that might be problematic for other forms. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll have to do some thinking on it when we get into doing more spells, like, and see if I have to come back and tweak this. Wash yourself, bad stinky spirit. But see, bad is, in that case, an adjective, right? I don't have adjectives. Or stinky. So I guess I couldn't say bad or stinky spirit, because I don't have adjectives. Wash yourself, spirit, is all I can say. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if I need to get adjectives at some point. But okay, my base was stir, because stir is basically just like, stir. What about adverbs? Do I have adverbs? I have adverbial things, which are, let me see. I feel like I do. I have a note to potentially add some adverbs, like adverbial phrases, in the post verb, which we have not yet gotten to. Do you have to be X verbs at least? So that's the we have the copula. I think that's what that is. We have a copula, which, have we put that in here yet? No, we have not yet gotten to the copula. You might need some adverbs like yesterday/tomorrow. So those concepts don't exist in this world. So what I do have, so basically once we get here, these aspects, so like iterative, inceptive, cesative, telic, and durative, is kind of the full extent that you can do those with, because they don't have like time periods, right? So I think I need to find, we have notes for this more somewhere, but like you could probably tell a spirit to do something until like the night takes over, until the day takes over, but the time frame of being able to maintain a spell is not that long anyway. So like even saying like until the next moon or something like that, which like the winds like might be able to, like they would understand that concept, but you wouldn't, like the spells wouldn't last that long anyway. Um so I haven't found any use cases where it would actually make any sense to have something like that. Because mostly every like these are going to be the ones that are used is going to be the telic aspect of bounded by a condition. So like water the plants until they're happy, right? Is how you would kind of tell that, because the wind spirits would know when the plants are happy. But they're not going to know like what an hour is or something like that. So I haven't found, I don't know. It's possible we'll add some at some point, but I think that's going to be one of those things that like until I can think of a case where it would make sense to have one, I'm not going to bother with it, which has been the same thing with adjectives. Like I'm sure the concept of adjectives exists somehow. You can you're nowhere close to the screen. You're fine. Thank you. I have water now. What about possession? We do have possession. That is much further up. Okay, yeah. So we have pronominal possession prefix markers on the noun. And these are very similar and essentially reused from our, let's see if I can find them. Are they further down? Pronouns. Yeah, so our pronouns, right, are prefix markers on the verb, and our possessives are prefix markers on the noun. So you have these options of basically there's a speaker inclusive, speaker exclusive animate, and speaker exclusive inanimate are basically the options that are in here for possessive and who they belong to. Because that's really all they'd have. Okay, so where were we? We were action morphemes? Is this where we were? I think we just finished this. We need to add the actual symbols for this. So let me go back to the right slide. I'm still so sad that I can't put both of these up for you. Like it would probably be too much anyway, but you know. Terminative, national, destructional, instrumentative, reflexive, and then I think this is just base, I guess. Which I'll need to look into like if I need to do anything fancy for these symbols, but I think that's okay. All right, so those are our action morphemes. We've already talked about how the verb stems are built. I don't think there's anything else to add for this part. There really isn't any complex ordering or anything like that. So that's the verb stem part, right? Verb stem has this in it. And then we need, I wonder if it'd be worth doing an overall structure, which like subject, and then verb stem, and then all the pieces in the verb stem, and then the post verb and all the pieces in the verb stem, sort of like a like a hierarchy tree sort of thing. Like if that would make sense, like just to understand what all the different components are that can be in there. That could be interesting. But okay, let's look at the post verb, which, let's see. Okay, so we had started looking at this a little bit before. Okay, so I want to explain what the post verb is, give examples based off earlier examples. The post verb contains markers for a variety of additional information relating to, yeah, that's my description, right? So including tense, aspect, and intensifiers. So we already have that. So we need to give the example. So this is a to-do. That shouldn't stay in there. Yes. So this immediately follows the verb. What do we call it? The verb stem or the verb root? Verb stem and the verb. I don't know if that's really necessary, but yeah. Structure, yes, that would give the order of the components. Okay, so let me add a to-do up here to do that. To-do, break down structure, bulleted, ordering, whatever. That should be enough to help me remember what it is, but okay. Did we add, cannot incorporate proper nouns into a verb or indirect objects? Yes, we talked about that. Where did we talk about that? Oh, no, that is my note. So verbs incorporate a lot of things. I feel like there's a better word for that, but things, right? So verbs incorporate a lot of things, including, I guess, direct objects. Is your file on autosave or manual save? I think it's on autosave. Although I can do a manual save just to make sure, but that's a good call, Greg. So verbs incorporate a lot of things, including indirect objects and the things incorporated by those nouns, as well as tense, aspect, etc. I don't know. I feel like that's something, and then add that note. So building verb steps plus other parts, we've already got those sections figured out. We already have the verbalizing morphemes. And then we're doing tense, aspect, and intensifiers now. So that's kind of breaks that down. We'll need to do something here to break down the subject more and how that's incorporated. Maybe have like a little section that's just subject. But let's go back down to the post verb. Yeah, we already have what they include. Let's see. If IntelliJ didn't auto-save a document, there would be a small circle next to the file name and the bar containing all the open files. Okay. Very cool. Oh, well, welcome, Gaurav. Yeah, I mean, we're just talking about we're trying to document things. That's what we're doing right now, which has been fun. But yes, so we have the tense here, we have aspects here, and we have intensifiers. I feel like these should probably have their own subsections. So tenses, aspects, and then intensifiers. And I don't have any abbreviations, and we haven't actually figured out what these markers are because I haven't had to use them yet, which is part of these being slightly more complicated. Because that's just, but I feel like these are things that would have abbreviations. Oh gosh, I feel like Ross sent me a page at some point with a ton of abbreviations. I can probably find that link somewhere. But the abbreviation for the future tense, this is typically FUT. Although, am I using brackets? I'm using brackets. And this is non-marked, so there's no abbreviation for it. I think that's how I've been doing things. And then for aspects, that's unmarked. So for iterative aspect would be ITER. And then we want inceptive. Should probably be INCE. Why can I not see a abbreviation for this? I guess I can just make one up. INCE. Let's see. Oh, the common abbreviation is INCHO for, oh, because it's a synonym for inchoative versus inceptive. So I guess I need to decide what I want to call it. CHOATIVE. I did not know that. So cesative would be CESS or CSS, which I feel like we'll go CESS because I feel like it fits with the others better. Telic aspect doesn't have a common one. So I'm just going to do TELI because why not? Durative is DUR. I feel like that makes sense. Durative. Okay. And then that's unmarked. Yeah. So at some point, we'll need to go through and actually figure out what the rest of these markers are and add them into my code. And then we have the intensifiers, which are well fleshed out because these are in every single spell, right? And I have all the examples in there. Okay, that's pretty good. Although I don't have examples for these. So we should probably add examples. So let's see. Do I need a simple? I mean, simple is just, I feel like I don't need an example for that because it's just, there's nothing to mark. Unless you all think that needs an example, but iterative. So let's see, where do I have these in my aspects? Where are my aspects? Here. Okay, no, I don't have a ton of examples already figured out for these, unfortunately. But so iterative would be like stir, iterative, right? So just continue stirring. Although that would probably be so. Keep stirring, I guess, or keep stirring. Iterative could be water these plants daily. They can't use spells like that, so like you can't, because of the time range, like there is no way to say every day. But I can do something like that. So action is beginning or starting. So this could be like start the fire, such as in the fireplace. So they're creating it. They aren't continuing it, but they're starting this thing that, like, you know, they're not just like creating a fire temporarily in the fireplace and then it's going away. Like they're starting it and it'll stay there, but they're not continuing it. So this would be like fire creates inceptive, right? Action is stopped or stopping. So this could be like stop the fire. I mean, I feel like they'd probably use a different way to do that, but I feel like this would also make sense. Would be fire create cesative. You know what I mean? Like they would probably just use the like terminative verbalizing suffix here instead. But maybe they could use like They would have to use something. This would have to be used on something with a base verbalizer. So like stop stirring. That's a good one. Stop stirring would be stir ceasative. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Oh yeah, Greg, exactly. Brilliant. We're of the same mind today. Okay, and then action is bounded by the condition. The complicated one I have is like water the plants until they're happy. But yeah, and the problem with the telic case is it requires an additional clause, which actually let's do let's do stop stirring when solution is clear for telic. Oh, that's a good idea. So this would be stir until solution. Craig, do you know what you just did? Isn't clear an adjective? Oh no. That's actually a good that would actually make sense as a spell like that. And then I would need adjectives. I am despairing. What have you done? They have risen. I know. Oh no. I don't know how to make adjectives. Oh god. Oh god. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. This is not a big deal. Okay. Next week's stream is just going to be adjectives. I'm going to rename it. And also we're going to do is figure out, I have no idea how you build adjectives in a polysynthetic language. I know nothing about this. Yep, okay. I'm going to not think about that for a minute of what Greg has done to us. Sorry, that was a spontaneous example. But it's a good example. It's a good example. And half of the way this whole language has been working previously and how I built it was I was like, let's think of a random spell. Okay, what grammatical things do we need to be able to create this spell? And that's how we came up with everything we have so far. I had just never come up with a spell example that would need an adjective. Although, oh, wait, Bib, you're still here? You can have a noun that just means a clear thing. Oh. So keep stirring. Oh, you mean like to build it? Because, okay, wait, until... Wait, hold on. Actually, right, because we have a copula, which means, because we have a spell... Hold on, I'm going to switch you over. I'm going to switch you over real quick. Because we need to find out if we actually need adjectives. This is important. Where is... Did I close my PowerPoint? Hold on a hot minute. Here we go. Okay. Share this. Oh no, I resized it. I'm sorry. Oh no, what have I done? What have I done? Okay. Okay. Complicated spells. Their happiness being happy. The state of being. So there could be a state of being clear, right? Which wouldn't necessarily be an adjective. It would be like Bib was saying, where you have a noun that means a clear thing, and we're saying until their state is being clear. Bib the lurker. I like to think he just randomly popped in, heard us like say one thing, and was like, I have the perfect example for this that fits in with everything that you've been talking about, even though I haven't been here. I like to think that he has that level of omniscience, we'll say. Okay, I need to look up what the exact definition of a copula is so I can figure out if this fits what I'm thinking. So a copula is a connecting word, particular a form of the word to be connecting to a subject and a complement. Yes. Yes. Okay. He was summoned by the Conlang panic. Honestly, he might have been. Which, like, Were you, babe? Could you just feel the energy in the universe that there was conlang panicking happening over here? Um, but yes, so I think we could use, okay, yeah, because I have that here too, of they're dry, right? So the state of being dry, I have a noun for that that's reflexive, and then a copula. Okay. I don't think we need adjectives, but we do need a section on how to add a copula, because that is obviously something that I have put in. I need to figure out where that goes, because I have put that in probably the it's either part of the post verb or, oh wait. Okay, I don't know if y'all were here, but the copula is what started this whole thing. Because I was trying to figure out the ordering of this in these complex. Yeah, look at this comment that I have that I had forgotten about. Check where copula should go ordering wise. We were here before. We were here before. And I couldn't figure out like how the clauses work at a more complex level to figure out where the copula would go. And I think this is literally what triggered me to reach out to Jessie and be like, Jessie, help me. I don't understand these complex clauses. And she was like, well, it would help if you understood what you do have so I can understand it, so I can help you. So, yes. This stream lasts a while. I like that. Yeah, it's hard for me to jump in and out too much, and I don't have that much time, but like 1 to 3, my time is the kids' nap time. So they've been up for 26 minutes, which means my husband has only been watching them by himself for 26 minutes, which means in terms of our roughly equivalent childcare duties that we try to balance, I make up less time. But yes, mostly I go until it sounds like the kids are like screaming their heads off, or I have to do something, or we just hit a good transition point. But yes, anyway, yes. Viv has been having a hectic evening. Oh no, but I've been tuning in when I can. Well, your timing is serendipitous. We'll put it that way. But yes, that is exactly a case. What Greg brought up. Greg did not ruin the world. He has not done a horrible, unspeakable thing. What time zone are you in? It's almost like 10:30 where I live. I'm Eastern time zone. So I'm on the East Coast of America. I feel like you can't pronounce it correctly. Yes. Okay. So we have a copula. We need to figure out the copula. We have reached a problem. Where... Okay. So here's the question. Do I have enough documented to ask Jessie WTF is up with this copula? Because we're getting into the complicated bits. Oh gosh. Okay, hold on. Yeah, because it could be, I think we were struggling a lot with like moving it around in the ordering and like, oh, well, if it's technically part of this, it would go here, and if it's here, it would go here. We need to think about that. Okana's asking, what's the difference with the code and this thing? I will give you a brief introduction to the code really quick, which I haven't changed. Let me stop screen, present, share screen, the code. All right, so let me open up my sidebar. So essentially what I have at a high level, right? I have a generator, sort of, that has a lot of different parts. So my language rules, I have this whole base. Yeah, Java jump scare. That like defines the sounds I have in my language. A lot of those like percentages for where things go, how many syllables I have, how many things I can have in the onset, the nucleus, and the coda, and what the chances of them being there are. Unallowed diphthongs. There's lots of various things in here, and my base program essentially has a lot of validation and checks for this being a general English pronounceable language in general, right? So like I have here's my validation filters. I have lots of various validation filters. I have there's a lot of code in here that you don't need to know about, but in terms of the grammar, I have defined object for every grammatical thing, right? So if I go into like the action morphemes we were just talking about, I have them defined in here. Yeah, this is a lot simpler than English. Well, and I wanted the syllables to be shorter, right? Because when you're doing something polysynthetic like this, you have a ton of syllables in one thing, so I didn't want it to be, like, super duper long. But so I have an enum, which it's fine, but all of these, grammatical things are essentially enums, and then I have, like, builders for different parts of the clauses, and then a spell is essentially what I'm creating here, and we had just gotten into the trying to figure out how to incorporate the complicated clauses into the code, which is kind of sort of what was involved with triggering how do the complex clauses work. But basically a spell holds all of the different parts, right? Like it has a verb root, it has an action morpheme that's optional, like, right? And you can build it with all of these parts and it will do all the building of it, right? So like it'll pull the right enum suffixes. It will, like, some of these have more complicated things, like determining, okay, do I need to add the thing that follows a vowel or follows a consonant? Eventually, the sandhi will be incorporated into this. So it's all builders. And then I have a spellbook entry, which is an entry in a spellbook, which is like a name, a spell, a level, a description. And then I have spell library, spellbook. Yeah. So then every spell is defined like this. So like if the spell is blow through the building, right? That is a direct translation, create air through the building. And then I've created a spell with the morpheme for sky, the creational action morpheme. And then I think this thing at the bottom is an indirect, it's a noun phrase for the indirect object. So then the noun phrase has the prepositional lative marker, it has the actual noun, and then it has a locative noun declension suffix. So it's essentially just building it through code, which is, I don't know, it's what makes sense for me. And I can build them all like this. And then I can look at this and just look at the English parts of how to build these. And then I'm not actually looking at the language. And then, when I run my spell book, which I think this is broken. Let's find out if this is broken right now. Because I think, my main method calls this. Let me run this real quick. Yeah, so you can see here, like, scrub with a rag spell. This is what the translation is. And then I don't have the sandhi yet, so it's the same, but eventually it'll show what it is before and after, and then like the additional details. So I can just, if I want to tweak things and change things, I can just run it and it's all right there. Which when I wrote this program, it was mainly to do naming languages, which are a lot more, what's the right word? There's a word for it, but essentially like they're like the builders were a little bit more helpful. So I have a lot of methods for like generate a random person name based off all the rules for how you build a name for a person in this, or like I want you to build me a place name that means these things and it does all the compounding for you and stuff. And then I've been expanding it to include the grammar for this because I don't know, it just made sense. Sugar Ring Donut wants to know why I went with Java for this. I went with Java for this because I am a Java developer. That is my day job. And I mean, technically, I think probably the best language to do this in would probably be Python. Like, this is a pretty good use case for Python, but I am not as good at Python. Like, I can read Python, and I've done a lot of translating Python code into Java, but I haven't written a lot of, like, pure Python. So I just, like, given that this is for a hobby type thing, and I don't really care if it's the most optimal language for it, I'm just going with what I'm comfortable with, because then I don't have to learn anything new for this. When I make a grammar, I'm always confused on where to start. So I would recommend, if you want a recommendation, to look at the Conlang year that Jesse Peterson put together. I think it was Jesse. I don't think it was Jesse and David, although I know David like talks about it a lot. But I think that was something Jesse ran to do, like essentially like how to build a conlang in a year and steps through it. Like first think about this and then this and then this. And I think there are like prompts for every day of the year or something. So looking at that and where she starts would probably be a really good place to start because she's super smart. The why Java question has been re-asked. Every single person who is new that sees that I wrote this in Java and knows literally anything about programming is going to ask why Java, because it is really not the best language for this. Now, I will say it totally works, right? Like this works great. Like it is not overly complicated to do it in Java, but like it's a bit much, perhaps. Oh, another possible solution to the adjective problem. Why not have a suffix like economy or economic? That way you don't need proper adjectives. Oh, that's true. So if that comes up, yeah, I mean, I feel like they would probably be I think they would they be suffixes? I'd have to look at my word ordering because every time I have to add a new thing, I can't remember what my word order is. But yeah, that's always an option. You made a translator for your conlang in Elixir once. I know nothing about Elixir, but I'm sure like there's other languages like this that would make sense for it. I think you would probably really want an object-oriented programming language, depending on how you were doing it. I don't know what like some of the big like programs that do this kind of stuff are in, but I would assume a lot of them are probably in Python or languages similar to that. But yes, okay, what were we doing? Oh, we were talking about the copula. Yes. So let's go back to our grammar. Minimize this. We need to figure out where the copula goes because the copula, it's definitely in the post verb. We know that for sure. So we need the world's biggest to do. If you remember correctly, Lexergy uses Python. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Python is kind of like the way it works. It's pretty good for this, and it's a pretty easy to read language, which is probably why like a lot of people that do these things, they are not necessarily like programmers first, like they're other things first that then developed a program for it. And Python is a pretty like human readable language. Like it's pretty intuitive in that way, whereas Java can be a lot more like not quite as intuitive. Like you actually kind of probably want to be a Java developer if you're going to write something like that in Java. Yes, okay. So we need to figure out what is a copula and where does it go? And then let's pull over the example I have from the PowerPoint real quick, which we have as a conditional mood clause. Oh gosh. Okay, hold on. Copy. And then the actual pieces, I guess what would you actually call that? The abbreviations for it? What is this piece called? Because I assume there's a word for that. Oh, Con, you're a C++ developer? I know very little C languages. I think I did a little bit of C in college when we were doing like assembly and all of that stuff. But yeah. Okay, so that was our example. But it's essentially our to be. But we need to add the copula. So where were we working? Where were we just working? We were in here somewhere, weren't we? No, I don't know. Okay, but I feel like the copula is the last part of the post verb, or of the post verb that we needed to add. Oh, another thing would be the adjective issue to be recorded in your notes. Good point. That's where we were. We were working on examples. So until the solution is clear, well, okay, so the way that would work is, this might be too complicated of an example. Because essentially what this is would be, you would have stir would be your entire verb. This wouldn't even be in, well, I guess it would be in your conditional verb. Well, stir would be a separate clause. That's going to be our main verb. And then we would have the conditional mood clause. So we would have, let me copy this over real quick again, mostly for the exercise of it. But it would go before stir. Paste this plain text. Ooh. Whoa. That's, why did it? There we go. Okay, so this would be third person inanimate, right? Because we're talking about the solution. So stir, it's a conditional until the condition of clear, being clear for future, right? I think that's correct. Oh wait, what? Stir until the solution clears. What would clears be? What type of clears? Clears. How would that be? Like, what type of clears? Till the solution becomes clear. How would that be different? How would that be different? Yeah, I'm gonna add like a to do here because this will need to be cleaned up. And honestly, oh, you think clear is another verb? Yeah. Till the solution clears. So adds a conditional clause. I just want to be able to look at these all together in an easier way. So if we were to do stir until the solution clears, that would be, so it would still be third person inanimate, which I mean is just like it, right? It condition. And then the condition is a verb. It's a conditional mood verb, right? I think that's how we did this. So if it's a conditional mood verb, condition is the verb. Oh my god, does that add another clause if we do it that way? Hold on. Hold on. So stir would still be over there until no, because no. Because when we have that, we can have another verb, I think. Although we need to. Okay, if we did it this way, until the condition of clear, and then this would be our verbalizing morpheme would be create. So until this being clear is created, right? Because clear would still be a noun that we would then verbalize. And then this would still be future until you've created clear. So we could say stir the solution. Just gonna be like stir liquid, right? So stir the liquid until the condition of being clear, of it clearing, I guess. So stir the liquid would be this. Oh my gosh. Until the condition of it creating clear. Although it's like I almost feel like you would still need a copula there. Like I don't know if there's a way to like is clear and clears becomes because it's still I feel like you still need like I don't know. I don't know if I'm sold on this. I think we might need to really hold off on these other clauses because my plan once I get through the basic grammar is to then go back to Jessie with some of the like high level things and have her like explain them to me because like Jessie was like a linguist professor for like forever. Is she still teaching? I don't think she's teaching anymore, I think. But she is a teacher of linguistics. So I kind of need her to teach me the linguistic parts of this so that I can understand it enough to do the conlanging because these complex clauses where you're bringing in additional clauses to this is definitely something that I struggle to wrap my head around with my very limited understanding. So I may need to put a pin in that there to get a more in-depth understanding because there's only so much that we can go back and forth on a stream. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to talk to her about that. I might even try to like, I don't know. I'll have to pitch this to her, but see if she'd want to just like hop on one of these streams and help me with it. We'll have to see. But yeah, because that gets into clausal grammar, which I am terrified by. So I guess the other question is, what else do I need to figure out before I can talk to Jessie about clauses? And is there anything else that I don't really understand that I need to talk to her about beforehand? So let me scroll back up to the top and we're going to do a scroll through real quick of where we are. So sounds, phonetics. I think this is all fine. Unless I get to the point at some point where I need to do like more pronunciation stuff, I think this is fine. I have all this filled in. This is all the syllable stuff is pretty generic and I think that's fine. Gliding vowel sound. What? Oh, this is for merging things. Oh, okay. So this was a note for me because I was unfamiliar with the concept of diphthongs and vowel hiatus, which I need to figure out if I want to do. But like I understand that. I just need to figure out how I want to apply it. Adding examples is fine. Although I probably do want to make sure I have at least some basic examples before I go to her with this. So I need to probably add more examples. To do general ordering examples. General ordering examples would be like, I guess just maybe a list of like those abbreviation translation. Like, I don't really know how you say that, but I mean, so noun cases, plurality, possession, determiners, spatial. Yeah. So I think maybe just adding examples and then that's fine. That's just something to think about later when I'm getting into Sandy, which I don't think I need to do before I talk to her because that's like a whole separate can of worms. I need to actually come up with vowels for things. Yes. But again, that's fine. This is all fine. Possession's good. Determiners, I think, is good. We've added exact. Did we add examples? Spatial. We should add some examples of what these would look like. But a lot of the like example cases where like will require me to probably generate some more things. So I'll have to think about what of them all would be necessary. So I think here's what we're going to do right now, right? We're going to keep doing this scroll through and we're going to decide if I need to, like maybe the next stream I need to add examples or figure out if I just need to on my own time add some examples. Cause like, I don't know how interesting that is for you all, although it is helping me come up with examples. But then I think if I need to do like a whole stream on it, if there's other stuff, then I'll hold off on. I'll give Jesse a heads up, but yeah, I think that makes sense. So let me add these examples real quick because I'm looking at it real quick because these are spatial. Where did I put these? Here we go. Okay, so an example would be start a fire where I'm pointing would be fire cause medial, right? Something close could be put out a fire like here, right? Or close to me would be fire terminative proximal. Or it could be like used to use this. So I could do another example that's like stir this pot, I guess, which would be stir proximal, proximal pot, whatever the word for pot is, right? So those are our two examples there. And then that / var. So this could be burn those trees would be fire create distal trees. Tree plural. Where does the plural go? Prefix. Plural tree. That might be a bit much, but say that's create. So that's those examples. So then we have, removing a case. Simplification can be fun. One less thing to do. Okay, so the spatial's done then. Distributive to do, I said will not do until a reason. Yeah, we'll just add that. I don't think I have any separate affixes, so I'm going to remove that note because I think we added those elsewhere. We have our pronouns for singular. Yeah, okay. Yes. Yes, okay. I think that's fine. This is complicated. Making a possessive case makes no sense when I have a genitive case. Genitive. I don't know what a genitive case is, but I assume that's basically the same thing, like owned by or something. Add positions. I just have a description. That's fine. This is all fine. We just did this. This is pretty great. We haven't finished with these examples. I can finish working those out. Oh, well, this would help. We were calling these dative type. I feel like this is pretty close for the basics, right? Like, other than having more examples in general, I feel like this is pretty well documented. Obviously, we haven't gotten any of the complicated stuff or added like the stuff at the bottom, more appendice type things, but I feel like this is pretty good. Breakdown. Okay, we need to add that. Add a whole subject. Okay, so we're pretty close. We're pretty close. Now I'm trying to figure out whether or not I want to try to finish this real quick or I don't know. let's add a quick section here for subject. So the subject is dropped if there's a mood clause and is indicated by the topic marker, which is the case for the head verb of spells. Yep. Gee, that was easy. So we have the general ordering here. So then if we were to do a complex ordering, we would have subject, we would have verb stem, and then the post verb. And then the verb stem oh, hello there once the spell hat on. Genitive is like the S and of. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, gotcha, Con. Okay, and technically, I feel like this itself is sort of the verb base of the verb. I feel like this is a thing, and then this is just the direct noun and everything it's encompassing. So maybe we have those separate where we have like the base verb. And then this has the verb root and the action morphemes. And then this would be our direct object and right, which includes the actual determiners and the noun. And let me check if that's all that can be in the direct object. So we have action morpheme, the nouns, which are up higher. Hold on. Sorry, I'm scrolling around a lot. I want to make sure I have it all. Noun cases. Do I not have what a noun can incorporate somewhere? Because I know it can be possessive. Hold on a second. I thought I had ordering here. Oh, I guess maybe this is why I need to add ordering. So you have the noun. Let's add this real quick. Hold on. Noun. You can have the case for the noun. You can have plurality marker. You can have the possessive marker or determiner. And then you have a spatial determiner. And then prepositional marker, I think are those all the options? Which we sort of have these in reverse order, which sort of makes sense. But we have the noun case, plurality, and then possessive, and then other determiners, which right now, spatial, and then it would be distributive. So let's add distributive. And possessive would just be a marker. So after distributive is pronouns, adpositions, prepositional markers. Yeah, okay. So this is essentially what goes in. So let's see. Nouns. Would we call this incorporation per se? Or would this not be incorporation? Would the incorporation be what the verb's doing? Their plurality and possessor. Possession. and possession, determiners, and various prepositional markers in this order. Perhaps noun agglutination, where you stick things onto the noun. What's the difference between incorporation? Is it just that like verbs incorporate and nouns agglutinate? Is that a thing? Noun. Nouns agglutinate to include blah, 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 right? In this order. So then I can copy this, which I feel like is getting into maybe too much with our full hierarchy, especially given that all of these can have stuff. Oh, agglutination is a type of incorporation where each morpheme has a distinct meaning. Oh. Yes. Okay. That makes more sense. So determiners and noun, but technically this is that. Yeah. And then we need to have copula? Question mark. And then the other thing we need to add is that if there's a mood verb that goes before, maybe. I guess, but that's I'm so confused. Let me just add like a note here. I feel like where are modal verbs placed? Modal verbs. Modal verb. Must, shall, will, should, would, can, may, might. I don't think I have those. I think those are kind of summarized by my intensifiers on my mood verbs. So like the command, there's different levels of intensity of it. So like you can say like I'm commanding you, right? Like we have the mood. Oh my god, my brain. What's that mood? Hold on. I have it written down here somewhere. Imperative. The imperative mood, right? So it's the imperative mood verb, and then the intensifier turns that into like to welcome, to beseech, to command, or to force. So that's sort of the closest we get to like a modal verb. Like they sort of encompass that. Why on earth? Okay. What was I doing? Oh, I was looking at my hierarchy thing. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, I just need to figure out how the copula works in from a structural perspective, like how it fits in with everything else, because I feel like I need it, but like it also is kind of weird with my structure. Okay. So we have this, and these could even be broken up more, but I don't want to break into like initial ones, but like that's fine. So then the post verb includes, let's get down to post verb. Oh, we were going to give some examples because we don't have a lot of examples here. So I have the examples there. I don't think I need... Like, would I want to have examples combining them? Like, is that what that note is for here? But the post verb follows the verb, stem and the verb, including tense. Yeah, I already have that. I've already explained what it is. So you might want to do some building up stuff. That's a whole separate section note. So then we have tenses, aspects, and intensifiers. So I just need to write like what the ordering for a post verb is. and is ordered like, I have this somewhere, hold on. Is it in my, okay, we have tense, aspect, intensifiers. My intensifiers are very handy. They like take the use of a lot of things, or the purpose of, I guess. And then I have potentially adverbial phrases, but I haven't done anything to actually add them yet. But let me add a little section for adverbial phrases. TBD if these are needed. I'm just going to do that, but the order would be this. So I can copy this up here like that. Does this look good? I think. Oh, bye, Seb. Probably missed you given that I just saw that, but how do you make that many verb forms? 566,000? I can't. That's a lot. Okay, so at a high level, a verb consists of these high level parts in this order. To break down all the subparts by order, you get this. Yeah, I think that's fine. So yeah, so then I have subject, and then what else am I even missing? I guess I need to figure out these, which bounded by a duration, bounded by a condition. So to do once I understand conditional clauses, right? Is there any space even if an RFU reserved for future use for my controversial adjectives? Oh, that's right. We wanted to add a note for this. I have literally no idea where they would go is the problem. They would obviously go on the noun somewhere. So let's add let's do a TBD if adjectives would be necessary, would be into noun, likely. Hashtag save the adjectives. Just for fun. No, this is a very serious document. I'm gonna do it anyway. Yeah, so then I'd have to figure out where exactly they would go. Yeah, but they would just have a section in here if I'm going to include them. But I think that's fine. Hold on, where were we? We were down here. For duration, this would also need a conditional clause because it would basically be until, like, oh, save the file. Save. I'm just going to say more clauses because I don't know if it would actually be conditional or if it would be something else. But yeah, so that's kind of stuck there. We don't know if we need adverbial phrases. We'll just do that. Oh, hello, Galat. Hello. Yeah, we can add more examples at some points. But was that all of that? I feel like there was something else we needed. Okay, up here. I feel like this is, I'll just do this real quick because it'll take like half a second. But we have behind the tree, on the tree, inside the tree, around the tree. Oh, conditional example, we stir the solution until sunset. Yeah, but that's like harder. That's like still very hard. Yeah. But then it's like at that point, I feel like if I were to try to write that out, it would just end up being a conditional because it would be like until it is the time of the moon or something. Like I feel like that's what it would like be like, not until we've reached the time of the moon, you know, like I'm not sure. I think I need to understand how the conditional phrases work to understand if that would end up being completely separate. But I get what you're saying, Greg. Okay, so then we would do start. So fire creates, and then a locative marker would be just under tree, I think. Create fire under tree on the direct object of the verb. Yeah. So it's basically just this for all of these, which is super basic. We're adding a quick example here. On tree, inside tree, around tree, behind tree, and above tree. Cool. Super simple examples. What else were we missing? Let me remove this because we might not even need to do these. So TBD if we need these. Let's just do that, right? Because like we might not need this section at all. That's good. This is all good. Oh, descriptions of my noun cases. Oh, this is actually where it's handy. Hold on. Let's open this up. Oh, yeah. So I think it's likely that there would be a word for it. It's just I don't know if they would ever be necessary with just like casting spells like this. Like, I'm not sure. Because like there are definitely certain things that I know would exist in the language that like I don't have a number system or anything that relates to a number system. I don't know if the spirits would have numbers, but they have like something to represent quantity. But it's just, you know, very vague, I guess. But hold on. We want noun cases, which would go. Where would those go? Okay, let's copy this. So this is for nominative. So indicates a noun or pronoun is the subject of a sentence or verb. Yeah, I think that's good. And then we need accusative. Oh, Khan is asking about cool spells. I can show you a cool spell in a minute. I feel like our coolest ones are the ones that are the most complicated. Like they're the ones that we were getting stuck on, which was basically like watering the plants was until they're happy was like our mind-blowing spell, which just is funny to me that is just, you know. So indicates an object of the verb, blah, 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 blah. In English, this would be. So then we have vocative, indicates a person being addressed. Then we have dative. I feel like I need to add that as a note, actually. hold on. The fact that a dative indirect object can be triggered by a dative marker in the post verb. Just add a note for that. Locative. Nice. English, these chords. Okay. And then instrumental, we'll just copy that over real quick. And actually, these are about post verbs. Can be triggered. We actually we got rid of that. So that's going to have to be updated. It's no longer, well, ooh. Yeah, no, it's no longer in there. This is something that we had changed based off Jesse's advice, is that you want the verb to be a complete like thing that stands on its own for this being polysynthetic. So like having that the verb be like stir the liquids within and then have like within the container as a separate thing doesn't really make sense, because then that verb, it does not stand on its own as like a complete clause. So we had to take that out. But yes, so I think that's good there. Okay, I think this is pretty close. I think the only thing at this point that this really needs is just more examples and then actually figuring out what some of the things are for what's here at least, and then we need to figure some things out. So I'm going to message Jessie later and ask her about what she thinks. But Con asked for cool spells. I feel like all the cool spells I don't have in my spell library because they were too complicated. Oh yeah, I didn't even get into this. Was our complicated one, but I couldn't actually build it out because we couldn't support it. See if I have any in the code. Put out fire made by the spirits. So the fire belonging to spirits. Disinflame, magic pool. That's that main one I was talking about. Yeah, I mean, honestly, let me present. Yeah, the cool spells would be in the PowerPoint. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay. So our complicated, well, so our simple ones, nothing cool there. Yeah, so these are kind of our more complicated ones. Yeah, so we have like, this one is, "Oh, Imva, I beseech you, of them while it is being one of the night, create warm rain onto the plants within the greenhouse." Honestly, that's probably the coolest spell we have right now, just because it's the most weird sounding. Like, I just think that sounds hilarious. And it's got a lot going on in it, right? Which, do I have it? No, I didn't figure out what it would actually be. But like, we have some of these written out. And again, we haven't done any of the Sandhi, so like they're not as pronounceable as I'd like them to be. Like this one. Like, Imvash amai viewfuyimis. Viewfuyimis. Not the best thing to pronounce. And then Sand. But yeah, I don't know. That's something I'll need to figure out as I go. Like, some of these might just be kind of wonky. But that's, you know, I don't know. All right. I think that's everything I want to work on today. But as a reminder, for the people that are new, this week, right? So this stream that's happening now, and then the one that's going to happen next Sunday, which I already have scheduled, so like you can see it on the channel, are going to be the last ones that are on this channel. And then over the course of that following week, after the 4th, is when I'm going to do the big, like, I have a separate channel now, and make all that live. And all of these streams are going to be re-uploaded over there. And then we'll start doing these conlanging streams on that other channel. Yes, which will be fun. But yes, I'll post in the Discord what exactly the plan is going to be once I talk to Jessie about this. But either we're going to be figuring out like copula and complex clauses and starting to look at that. Maybe we'll bring Jessie in at some point and I'll schedule that later. Or maybe I'll just do some, like, let's actually figure out what some of these are. Let's build out some more spells and, like, fill in our examples and stuff like that. But all I did this stream was make a way to say future statements. I mean, it's still something, right? I mean, we haven't really done anything other than document stuff here. Like, that's basically all we're doing at the moment. But yes, I really appreciate everyone for being here and hanging out. And yeah, I will catch you later. I feel like there's something else I wanted to say, actually. What was it? Oh, no. Oh, no. I don't remember. But hopefully I'll see you next week. Yes, see you in May. Oh gosh. Wait, the next stream is on May the 4th. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Brilliant. All right, yes. Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a great week, weekend, rest of your Sunday, all of those things. Yeah, well, there's not a Patreon yet. The Patreon will happen come June. But yes, there will be a Patreon come June. It'll be fun. I'm excited. Yeah. Okay. Goodbye, everybody.